Hi, everybody. This is Jerry Santangelo again, reminiscing with my grandson Chris. And usually I like to talk about my good old days. They mean nothing to him because these are maybe going to be some of his good old days. But nevertheless, my good old days included radio and television and theater. Not big time, not Broadway, not doing the Catskill circuit with Broadway shows, but upstate New York. My audience really came from Syracuse, parts of Rochester, and then mid upstate New York, heading toward Cooperstown, that area, down toward Binghamton, and then north up to wherever is north. Not as far as Canada, though. But that was my audience. And I know that because I used to get fan mail in those days, and you would see the postmark on the postcard and the letter. It was very nice. As a matter of fact, my favorite fan letter I got many, many years ago was from a sailor. And he was on an aircraft carrier in the Pacific Ocean, and he was a radio man, and he was manning the radio in this aircraft carrier for any signals or messages coming across. And all of a sudden, this radio station, through all the static, came through to him on an aircraft carrier in the Pacific Ocean. And he listened to me. And he told me, he wrote me a letter. And he told me that many times he heard me, but not every night because the carrier would move out of distance, etc., out of range. But anyway, that was my favorite fan letter from a sailor in the Pacific Ocean on an aircraft carrier. He became a fan of mine, maybe 3 or 4 broadcasts, but he liked hearing from home. Once I read his letter, I started talking more about, in the letter, he told me he was from the Syracuse area. So I started talking to him every once in a while. This one is for you, Dave, or whatever his name was. That was fun. I just wanted to make this a quick broadcast because while in Syracuse, the station hired an artist, and he came in and took pictures of all the disc jockeys and personalities on radio and TV, and then went to his studios and drew fantastic caricatures from these pictures. Now, we put them on match covers, on postcards, and this and that. And whenever I got fan mail, I'd send out a card to them, thanking them for writing to me, but it would be on the card with my caricature on it. If any of you think you're artists, and there are probably quite a few very good natural artists out there, you see me often doing this who cares what I don't like show. You've seen me enough to see my features, the big popping eyes, the white hair, and so forth, big nose. I'd be interested to see if you could draw a caricature of me and what you think like caricature-wise. And then put it on send it to us, and we'll look on the screen. And this way, everybody who listens to the show or watches the show can see your definition of this is Jerry, how I think he looks based on how he looks on the computer. Okay, that might be fun. I may never get one, and my director, Chris, to make me feel good, might do one just so I got at least one entry in it. There's going to be no prizes for this, just a lot of praise and notoriety, and we'll clap our hands. And if it's really disgusting, I'm not going to look at it nor mention it. Okay, make it fun, and remember, send your caricature. The way I'm sending my messages to you, send them to all of us so we can see them, okay? Thanks very much. This might be fun. Bye-bye now. Hi, everybody. This is Jerry Sanders, and this is going to be a quickie, but something I was thinking about, and that was my mother-in-law. God bless her. She was a great gal, and didn't didn't see too much of her. She lived in Oswego, New York, snow country, which is where my wife was from. And we lived down here in Westchester County and Dutchess County and so forth around New York State. And so we would have to invite her for a visit. And when we lived in Pleasantville, New York, she would take a train down. We'd meet her and she'd spend a week with us, 10 days. It was wonderful. But she was a very sheltered lady. She came from a very small town and always lived in a very small town. Cities scared her. Syracuse scared her. Syracuse probably had 250,000 people there. But when she'd come to visit us, we'd go to New York with 8 million people there. That's people who lived there, and not counting all the millions who came to visit and enjoy the Big Apple. But one day we decided we were going to, I'm trying to think now where we were. Carnegie Hall, yes. And she said she had heard of Carnegie Hall. She didn't know really what it was. I said, well, it's a big concert hall in New York, but as they say in the business, you haven't made it unless you played Carnegie Hall. All right. She said, that would be lovely, Jerry. I'll be happy. It was going to be a festival of high school glee clubs and bands, and our children were participating in it. So we said, so we went. And what I'm getting to is, here's this lady who's never been anywhere, very frightened, a shrinking violet. We got there early for Carnegie Hall and went and sat in the first or second, or I think it was the first row, waiting and waiting. And maybe 10 other people were in the auditorium. But we're in the middle of the biggest city in the world and one of the most popular theaters and show places in the world for performances. And we're sitting there and she whispers in my ear, do you know where the ladies' room is? I said, no, Mom, I don't. She goes, and this is what shocked us. Oh, that's all right. I'll find it. She got up and darted out of the auditorium. And I looked at her daughter, my wife, and I said, your mother just took off all by herself in New York City. We may never see her again. How do you find her? She's afraid to go to church. There's too many people there. And so we didn't know what to do. You couldn't follow her. There were so many people in the lobby before coming into the auditorium. So we sat there and prayed and wondered, sure enough, 15 minutes later, here comes this little old lady from Manetto, New York, with a nice smile on her face. She said, there are so many nice people. She stopped to talk to all of them. But that was a scary moment in a huge, big city where someone who's afraid to go out in the backyard at home in a small town leaves you to go look for a special ladies' room, and you never know if you're going to see her again. That may not be much of a story, but I'm quite sure that people who are watching this have had the same kind of experience with a loved one. Mainly, it's with young children who dash out of a room or a theater or an amusement park or at the beach, and you don't know where they went, and for 5 minutes, you're not sure, you have that fear in your heart if you're ever going to see them again. And you were so thrilled when they come running back to the blanket at the beach and everything is fine. Okay, that's it. We have a few others to talk about, and that'll be at another time. Bye-bye. Hi, this is Jerry again, and my grandson and I were sitting by this computer. We had just come back from a mall. I like to shop when I have to buy something for someone I love or care about. But just to go shopping annoys me. I don't like going to malls. I don't like being mauled in a mall. I don't like, well, I like crowds. I've always liked crowds, but I enjoy like going to a ball game or New Year's Eve. I know some people are terrified of that, but I like crowds because we're all there for the same reason, to celebrate something. But today, my grandson reminded me a couple of things we had to pick up for this computer that I'm talking into. And I said, okay, let's go. So we drove up there. I thought I would try a shortcut. I thought we would try a shortcut. I did. We got on the road, and I knew that it led to Route 9. I don't know where you're watching this from, but Route 9 runs right through the area where we live. It's about a mile or so from my house. And then you can go to Poughkeepsie or go south down to Westchester and so forth. I get in the car, we get in the car, and here we go. We're heading for the mall. Well, I got to 4 corners, and I said, I've made a right turn here before, and it brought me right to Route 9. So I took it. After I was on this road for 2 or 3 minutes, I realized this was the road I called the road to nowhere. You get on this road and you drive through developments, beautiful homes, not too beautiful homes. 100 cars pass you, 200 cars are right coming toward you. Half of those 200 cars are 11-year-old children taking a driving test. And I said to because my grandson was being quiet, but wondering, when are we going to get there? I said, I've been on this road before, son, and I think it's the road I call the road to nowhere. You just ride and drive and steer, honk your horn, avoid army military vehicles crashing into you, buses with people the kind of people you never heard of in your life. They're in that bus going somewhere. And finally, like 20 minutes later, in what normally should be a 5-minute drive to Route 9, we got to Route 9. Now we go to the mall. And what we're going to do is buy equipment for the computer. I know nothing about computers, and I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't want to know anything about a computer. I don't understand them. They're wonderful. They're miracles. But I spent my life in radio and television, and I thought television and radio were miracles. But we're going to go into, I won't mention the name of the store, but they sell equipment and stuff for computers. So we went in there, and he tells me what we're looking for. And excuse me, but what was one of the things we were looking for? A mouse and speakers. A mouse. I'm going to go buy a mouse to bring into my study. So we started looking at them, and my grandson is a real grandson because they show him speakers, and they're on the top shelf. And he says, how much are these? And he says something like $47,000. And my grandson says, he reaches down on the bottom shelf. These will be just good for us. And I think they were $19. So now we need a mouse. Right this way, sir. So we go, and the guy showed a collection of mice that you wouldn't believe. Some of them are as big as the car I have in the garage. So this is good. This one's only $143. All you do is, hold this in your hand and everything moves. But this is, so my grandson said, Papa, I think this one is the one we need. And it was $4. Now, the one I just showed you, we just bought. It works fine. Everything is perfect for our set. The computer I have is wonderful. I can't believe I'm in my study, in my office, and I'm talking into a machine, and I'm looking at me. I'm looking at me, looking at me, looking at me. And I'm realizing how funny I look when I talk. See, I was in radio all those years. When you're in radio, you don't see yourself. You just cup your ear and really reach those notes. And you love what you hear, and you fall in love with your voice. And I did that for many years. But I never looked at me talking. Home movies, I never looked at home movies because I always took the pictures. And unless you turn the camera around and put it right in your nostrils, you'll never have pictures of yourself. They're all pictures of the people I love, but not of me. Well, yeah, I can't hear you. Oh, yeah. Well, that's right. One of the reasons we went to the store was to buy equipment to make DVDs from our home movies. So, now, can you imagine? I must have about 200 hours of home movies. Can you imagine anyone in the world when I'm gone wanting to sit and watch 200 hours of Papa's home movies? Oh, wait, you see this one? Yeah. This is me getting up from a chair. It's one of my highlights. Anyway, that's the kind of day I had. The people were very nice at the store I went to, but, well, I'm not a very good customer. All right. But that's why we're talking into this stuff today. And thanks for being here. That's it. Hello again. I'm Jerry Sanders, and I'm still checking the mailbox. And I got a call here, mail call. And it says here, New York Empire Rights. So that must be a code name for one of my big fans or someone who can't stand this thing and wants to get me off the air. But anyway, New York Empire writes, Mr. Sanders, what would it take for you to return to Playland? And in case you don't know what Playland is, it's an amusement park in Rye, New York. Beautiful, right on Long Island Sound. I grew up there. What has changed for the worse, the writer says. Well, I don't want to get in trouble, and I don't want to upset people. But if you're going to ask me a question, I'll answer it the best I can and be as truthful as I can be. I'm not in the PR world. I love Playland, but I love the memory of Playland. I love what Playland was because I was a child when Playland opened. My mother, my aunt, and my grandmother were all working there on the day Playland opened. It was beautiful. It still is beautiful. But these are my two answers on what would I change. Number one, I think it's become too expensive for a family to go there with their children, mother, father, whatever, male adult, female adult, and bring their children or grandchildren. To me, it's too expensive. Number two, and again, I'm not pointing fingers, but I'm saying when I bring my grandchildren there, I have found that sometimes I'm nervous because every once in a while, Playland allows the wrong element to go to Playland and walk around. Scare a few people. I don't like that. That's not what Playland is to me. Playland is a place to bring your family, your children, your grandchildren, relatives, good friends of yours, to bring your grandmother, to bring your aunt. It's a family place. When I went to Playland, you could do everything there. Go on the rides, walk around, go to the picnic grove and have a picnic, watch the fireworks, they have free acts there, trapeze acts and so. It was wonderful. And you know what? It didn't cost anything to enter Playland. Want to go on the ride? You have to pay to go on the ride. You want something to eat? You pay for something to eat. But it was a destination.
I don't feel it's that anymore. Maybe it is to you if you're watching this because you're today's generation. But I'm the older generation. I like the genteel Playland. Not boring, just genteel and safe and beautiful and clean and memorable. You can't wait to go back. You can't wait to bring friends there and show off your Disney World. We call it Playland. To walk on the boardwalk and play some of the machines, the games in the arcades. You know what? I know it was a long time ago, but during the war you could play games for a penny. Then it became a nickel. Then maybe a quarter. Now, that's what I'm trying to say. I wish they could bring back the old Playland. They can't, but they can do things and make it more convenient and affordable for a family today. So I hope I answered that question. I love Playland. I plan to visit it again, but every time I go there I get a little disappointed because I reminisce and it's not the same. But I'm not the same either. Okay, talk to you soon.